All right. Well, we are back on the Unapologetic podcast. My name is Brandt Merritt.
I'm Jonathon Woodyard.
Nate Millican.
And we are excited to have Nate with us. Nate spoke in chapel this week, a longtime friend of Jonathon that we'll get into. But if you could, just love to have a quick 30-second, where you from, where you serve, and go from there.
So I've got one wife. That's good. More than that's disqualifier. I got 4 great kids. Sophomore, freshman, 7th graders, 2nd graders. Then I serve specifically pastor at a church in Southern Indiana, where I go for multi-site church, regularly there, and also serve as a singer of any other director of North American Mission overseeing church life. So
that's awesome. And you were our guest speaker, like I mentioned, in chapel, and you also led a session last night, after dark session with Jonathon. So how did this start? How far back do you guys go? What's the history? Kind of dive in there.
Goes back to long in a galaxy far, far away, in a city, Lexington, Kentucky. So I became a Christian in 2002, started going to Porter Memorial Baptist Church, and my wife, Gina, had become a Christian a year earlier. We obviously weren't married at the time, but she started going to that church and got involved in a Bible study. I became a Christian, got involved in that Bible study. Actually, it was his brother, Micah, who was leading that Bible study when I first arrived. Nathan he was at the University of Kentucky, I think probably the year before that, graduated, moved back to Louisville, Kentucky. And his wife, Lauren, was still there. I met her before I met him. So got involved in that church, that Bible study, that college ministry, and just through the years of that ministry and doing different things, I got to know Nathan a little bit. And then I don't know, what year was it when you came back to Lexington for
2006? That's came back for left Southern, came back also kind of like a
Southern Seminary. Yeah.
Southern Seminary, Kentucky, and kind of put all press. And so came back, was doing
Yeah.
a massive education. Was going to teach, be a teacher, be a school teacher, and work part time in a church, doing student ministry. Ministry, came back.
So when he came back for that, I'd been in Iraq in 2005 with the Army. Came back, Gina and I had moved from Louisville back to Lexington and went to work for that church, Porter Memorial, to do some college ministry at the University of Kentucky. Nathan had come back, and then we just started to hang out, play some golf. He's fairly good at golf. He's a big golfer, big golfer. And so, but started to play golf together, hang out together, got to know each other even better there, and just been friends ever since. So
I think Keller talks about this when he writes on friendship. He says friendship is something that you discover. You're like, oh, you too? Man, me as well.
Yeah.
We connect on that. And then he says it's discovered, but then it's also cultivated. So I think there's just people that you meet, man, our spirits resonated with each other. I met several years ago. It's not often that both the husband and wife both like the other.
Yeah.
And so we get along with them. They're a safe place. And I think it's 23 years of friendship.
Yeah, it's 23 years of friendship, and then we've got a lot of guys that came out of that church.
In that church.
Yeah, that church, a lot of guys that were
dispensation.
Yes, although we're not dispensationalists. No, I know. So good friends, and a lot of guys that came out of that church, and ladies that are friends to this day. So we have a text thread called Friends Along the Way that we're part of, and the pastors in Alabama, Atlanta, people all over the country, Tennessee. Yeah. And so people all over the place that we're on the thread with, we're all still friends. It goes back to that college ministry. Gina is flying to Florida on Thursday, where she's going to spend time with 2 of the ladies. They're still really close friends that were part of that college ministry. So just a really,
She is. You're fine, but she's upset. Yeah.
She's not upset. So anyway, sweet friends. We love Jesus. We love the Bible. We love the local church. We love evangelism. We love missions. We were reading the same authors, all that sort of thing, going to the same conferences. We love the same University of Kentucky basketball team. All those things. Yeah, all those things come together. Please. So, longtime friends, and got to serve together at a church. First time, or only time that's happened, where we got to serve on the same staff. So he was the lead pastor, Oak Park Baptist Church in Jeffersonville, Indiana, right across the river from Louisville, Kentucky. and I'd gone down and was the family pastor there for it was a short season, but a really sweet season, where we got to have some fun doing ministry together, dreaming together, preaching, teaching, leading. So it's good.
Bullard definitely was doing ministry with the band of brothers and our band of sisters. And so it's been the best times to be able to do ministry from afar.
Yeah.
Now, but also up close.
We wrote a book together. Gosh, I don't remember what year that was.
5-6 years ago. I think it came out 2020.
Yeah. Yeah. And I forgot.
You remember it's fantastic.
Yeah. And I don't remember what year it was. No, that it was B&H, but I don't think they print them anymore. But I have, yeah. So anyway, got to
remove Mason.
Yeah.
Shelf space.
Other books, but so we got to write a book together, do different things. Now, to have him here and to introduce people on our campus. One of the great things that we have an opportunity to do here at the school is we're shaping this next generation, is introduce students to people who have shaped us. So. And sometimes it's some of your friends that have shaped you, and it's not merely this big conference speaker or prolific author or, like a John Piper or somebody like that. Sometimes it's just somebody that's normal, like Nathan, that hits a double, unimpressive, hits a double, hits a double in chapel. Yeah. So,
well, and it's just, it resonates. That story resonates with me. It was the Baptist Student Union at Mizzou that I've got that same core group of guys and girls that we've all stayed close, and we're not in ministry necessarily, like lay ministry, but stay connected. So you think of how that applies to our students, of why this is such an important season for them. I mean, the relationships that they're building here and the way they're being shaped is going to be lifelong. That's why we put so much weight on the time. You mentioned Nate coming into chapel yesterday. I'd love to just kind of recap and debrief that a little bit. I thought it was a great message, working through some of the Beatitudes, and you're talking about the gap that exists in all of our lives. Not everybody stood up, but everyone could have stood up.
Yeah. In context, what Brandt was saying was, at the end, I mentioned it 4 or 5 times, but as a preacher, you got to give people some clear instructions on what you're going to do and where you're headed, and help them kind of prepare their heart. More often I do that. I tend to respond a little bit more responsibly. And so I'm reading a book right now. Many people probably have heard of it, the Emotionally Healthy Leader, and he kind of walks through this kind of paradigm about, really, in his particular area, in terms of rest and margin. He says, there's awareness of an area of your life that you need to grow in. There's reflection, you call it meditation. You're reflecting upon it. Yeah, I see that. And then you move to valuing it. I actually think that's something, a behavior that I would change and do. And then he says there's a gap between valuing and owning and prioritizing. He says in his perspective, like that, it took him 6 to 7 years since you actually bridged the gap to when you actually had a rhythm of rest and margin that was commensurate with what he felt in life. So as I'm thinking about here and what they're creating, I wanted to serve the faculty and students. I think when you look at the attitudes, wow, I mean, he says this is the way of happiness, this is the way of being blessed. I think it's the kind of introduction to the Sermon on the Mount. He says, this is the way of the kingdom, the rule and reign of Jesus. And it's what it means to be a citizen of the king. And so much of our life, Brandt, Jonathon, did is live avoiding mourning, avoiding grief, avoiding persecution, pushback. And he says, there's so many things he says there. And I just thought, who you are in college, for the most part, I know there's exceptions, but who you are in college spiritually, in terms of your spiritual fervor for Christ, is more often than not going to be who you are for years, days to come. I mean, it's just a neat season to be around people. So I think one of the most challenging things a young person can do is say, I'm really ball in, and to delight in him, to know him, and really to be all in, like his ways, his ethic. And so we walk through, blessed are the pure in heart, undivided allegiance to Jesus. You'll see God. Absolutely need to see God. And just assess His presence. We talk a lot about the experiential nature of the Christian life. You want to pull back. You don't want to err on the side of being too experiential. We'll see First John. I reckon mistakes you believe in the name. It's like you may know God eternal life. Everyone needs to experience to know. So and then we walk through a couple more Beatitudes. The big one that all of us just. Blessed and happy are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. the belief of actions and ways and the values, truth, and the message of Jesus is undoubtedly.
Yeah.
And the words of Jesus had look back. And I think, like you candid, I think our Christian culture is very soft. Just similar to country in Asia. I'm headed to Ukraine. I go each year, I go to Nepal 6 months. And the rest of the world looks at Western Christianity, and I think in some sense kind of chased the softness of who we are in terms of what we might call Christianity. And I think it's coming and just trying to parallel that. 67, 80 years, what is that? And beyond. And so ask the students about spiritual courage, didn't ask them specificity what it was, and there's one number of people that set up, and there's a gap in all that. There's something I need to own, prioritize, and
Yeah, that's good. What did you got? Because I didn't make it last night. So what was the topic of the After Dark last night? Yeah.
Yeah, you really missed a life-changing
Go
moment.
back and watch it. Is it
No, it wasn't. It's it's lost.
what a miss.
Yeah.
What a miss.
Yeah,
What did we talk about last night?
I can't remember.
It was, I can't remember, folks. I can't remember. We talked about parenting trust.
That's what it was. Yeah.
I think about my marriage, think about your relationships with friends, your peers, or colleagues, your neighbors, your kids, your grandkids. Everything runs on the courtesy of trust. And the reason why in a high trust relationship, people are more charitable because they trust you, you trust them. Low trust, they're not building out trust. My new tribe says. So as I think about my marriage, I want to cultivate trust with my wife. I want her to lead on a safe place. She can be gut level honest with me, and there's been times she hasn't felt that way. And that's on me. I'm not creating an environment where she can flourish and she can be gut level honest and transparent about her highs, lows, strengths, weaknesses, struggles, sin, and vice versa. And so our marriage has flourished in the last couple of years. My parenting relationship with my 4 kids, and at the church where I serve, we've been able to go further, faster. I don't think faster is a spiritual further. We've been able to do a lot of things, and I think it's been attributed to there's been high trust, accessibility, correction, openness, teachability, listening to this, and then a lot of people who are in positions of leadership that get to this because they have a track record of producing results and be competent, and they're sometimes scale removes accountability. So, you remove yourself as you grow, and I think that's to the detriment. So we talk about trust, talk about demonstrating respect, talk about straight talk, and somebody wants to do that. And I hope that serve the students well, because I think a lot of students and Christians don't engage in what Proverbs says better is open rebuke and hidden love. And so hidden work is, as Proverbs says, is the work of an enemy. And I need people in my life. You need people in your life. You need people in your life that can go alongside and say, hey, I love you, don't own you.
Tell you what I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the effectiveness of that. I was getting commensurate with how much trust you have with the person and vice versa.
Well, I thought one of the takeaways from the chapel message that I thought was good when you talked about peacemakers is humility, not easily offended. We're in a very easily offended time, culture, and that plays into that. I mean, same sort of thing. You're not going to, if I'm easily offended, if I'm easily to be defensive, that hurts trust too, because someone's not going to want to approach you with the truth if they know how you're going to react. And I think developing that just peace in our heart and trust in who our identity is in leads to that humility and confidence to just, roll with it.
Yeah, if your identity and value isn't how people see you, how they respond to you, how they interact with you, it's just going to be constantly shattered. And but it's rock solid in Christ. I have been a Christian for 31 years, so I still have so much room to grow. But I've seen growth in my life to where I'm really leaning into what Jesus says about me. When he walks into the room and he sees me, I see him. And he knows everything I've done, everything I've said, everything I've thought. I haven't thought, conversation I've had. How does Jesus respond? How does he look at me? What's his disposition? What's the expression on his face? I'm like, okay, I've got a doctrine in these things. I've got a master's in these things. I'm not. He's like, man, you could have done better. I wish you'd been a little more faithful. I think, as you and I talk a lot about, the gospel is a happy And Jesus walks in the room. He's pleased to see us. He's for us. He's acting for us. And I think growing into your identity in Christ has been really revolutionary for me in the last couple of years. As a husband and pastor, it's been great freedom. And it's enabled me to engage with contentious, argumentative, prideful, less charitable people and be disarming, because humble people are very hard to offend.
Yeah.
And it's not my response. It's not related to what you think about me and how you respond. And so far, it depends on Brandt, Jonathon, and it can be a respondent. So the peacemaking is certainly a discipline in our culture that we do such a contentious, volatile culture.
Yeah, we talk about that at the staff level for student life. I mean, I try to remind our staff, hey, you're working with 18, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, and they're often going to do things, say things that in the moment they shouldn't have said, shouldn't have done that thing to you or said that thing to you or behaved that way towards you. And we just talk about, hey, be hard to offend and easy to please. And I think that if we can lean into the campus in this generation that way, I think we help bring the temperature down in a lot of rooms. You said something a minute ago about how Jesus thinks about us. And I posted something on social media the other day, about a day ago, and I quoted Zephaniah 3:17. How does God think about you? How does God look at you? And this is to the redeemed, right? Those who are in Christ. He rejoices over you with gladness. He quiets you by his love. He exults over you with loud singing, Zephaniah 3:17. So if you are in Christ, if you have turned from sin and believed in Jesus, that's how God sees you. He exults over you with loud singing. So the God of the universe is not sitting up there wringing his hands. Why couldn't you do this? Why couldn't you be this way? Well, that doesn't mean that we can't grieve the Spirit, right? So you got to leave room for that. But it's a grieving, like there's a grieving and yet there's still the smile. It's like your kid, your kid does some things last night that frustrates the daylights out of you, fictitious.
Right. Never.
But at the same time, in that frustration, one of my kids, I'm standing in the doorway looking, and he's talking and explaining why he was whatever. And there was just, in the moment, I'm like, a smile still inside, because this kid is still my kid and I still love this kid. So God is there, and yes, you can grieve the Spirit, but he loves you and exults over you with loud singing, and never let that go far from your mind.
Yeah. So you mentioned your church context a little bit now. How did you end up there? What's the ministry looking like now? What's on your plate?
Yeah, great question. So I don't know if anybody listening or watching, if you've ever felt there's a particular position or place you want to serve, that that's where I want to be. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to live. That's what I'm going to do. And I was at a fantastic church in Phoenix. We were unified and a great team, but I just sensed in my heart, I just don't know this is where I'm going to be long term. We were 1,717 miles away from family in Indiana and Kentucky, as we were living in Phoenix, Arizona. Great church. Arizona's absolutely gorgeous, incredible, great team. And an opportunity came up at a church called Graceland Church, just across the river, Kentucky. Pastoral transition of the guy on staff, so pastor that was kind of an interim, so to speak. And he and I, unbeknownst to me, were kind of like one and two candidates. One or two candidates. And he reached out to me, so I got a guy on staff reaching out to me. I've got people in the church reaching out to me. I was like, man, this is a shoe. I don't even need to pray. The Lord has opened the heavens. This is where we're going to go. And I was being courted, I guess you could say that, by North American Mission to come back to Indiana. There was some church fighting, and so I was like, okay, man, there's two opportunities here. And Grace didn't work out, and I congratulated the guy, and I've been more open to North American Mission for bringing me back. And so I was headed that way. I was getting close back to a region of the country I really loved, and I've been for 12 years in Kentucky and Indiana. And I called and got permission from Kevin Gazelle, the president of North American Mission Board, to not be on the church planting circuit, to go to churches every week to kind of talk about church planting, and Annie Armstrong, what God's doing, like, hey, be rooted in a local church. Local church is beautiful. It's the most beautiful place this side of heaven. for the good of my soul, marriage, family, discipleship, friendships. And he said, yeah, no problem. You can live in Southern Indiana rather than Indy, and you can even help with the church, So I called a guy, Larry Riley. I'm indebted to Larry Riley. Shout out to Larry if he's watching this. If you're not, you need to watch Larry. And I said, hey, I've got permissions to help. Can I help serve you? And he said, no, don't even worry about it. Come join our team as a teaching pastor. He never met me. Larry had done his research and got to know who I was from having a conversation with me. So we brought me on, became a teaching pastor at one time, full-time commission board over Church Plains. And over the course of that couple of years, he was kind of like an intentional interim. They identified me as next lead pastor. So we kept the search team in place. Who's going to be the next guy that's going to lead us by God's grace 5, 10, 15, 20 years? So we went through a succession plan. There's such thing as a succession consultant. It's the best money we ever paid at a church. And I think it set us up by God's grace to, lead out into the years of the decades to come. My wife has said to me, hey, if God moves you somewhere else, you can go somewhere else. And I want you to know, with all seriousness, you're going to go by yourself. I'm not going west. We love where we are. We have a great leadership team, great church, unified, and it's a lot, too much fun at times.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The succession plans, that's messy. That does not always do it.
Brandt, I think I stepped down with Larry in a coffee shop. I had a coaching session with a guy named Mac Lake, who's Brandon Lake's dad. Right? We wrote the song Gratitude. So Mac was doing a coaching session with me. He said, hey, you need to meet my friend Will Heath. Shout out to Will. Drop a lot of names here. And he's, no.
Okay. So,
No, different. So Will Heath is a succession consultant. He does with universities, colleges, pastors, associations. And I contacted him, and I was telling our current lead pastor who was transitioning out. I was going to be the lead pastor. So I said, hey, we need somebody to help us see what we don't see. No, we don't know. I mean, there's so many landmines in leadership. Let's just, how do we put on wisdom and avoid the landmines? Somebody's done this before. Let's have somebody walk us through this journey. And it, honestly, Brandt, Jonathon, it's probably one of the best things our church has done in decades. And by the time we got to the vote of affirmation for me as the lead pastor, the church is like, we've been talking about this for a year. We talked about latitude and disclosure. Elders know, executive team knows, deacons know, community leaders know, the church knows. And there was such a substantive coalition of the will and man, we see it. And we communicated very well. And I don't think most university presidents, I don't think most pastors, most denomination leaders have a specificity of a plan for succession. And I would say, shame on you. You need to have a legacy, not for your own leadership, but for the leadership of the generations to come. And succession is one of those things that we don't talk enough about. And when I'm 56, 57, I'm not quite as old as Jonathon. When I get to my late 50s, I wanted to get thinking about this to serve graciously well for year 2040, 2050. So,
yeah, we did, it's not the same thing because Grayson was such a beast. Position for big pastor too. Next, we didn't do it by ourselves. We knew that wisdom, we didn't hire a company. We
same thing,
he helped. That's my point. We brought in somebody else from inside and say, here's how you do this. There's something you can think about. It's just wise to sort of separate their lead. Generally in your life, you should do that. It's a lot of leaders.
Well, I think, Jonathon, Brent, it's so, all of you can identify with this probably in an organization, in a church. If there's not a sense of what's the next season and how do we pass the baton, so to speak, we've all been in churches, in colleges, in organizations where there's not an embracing of the culture, there's not an embracing of the strategy. Hey, this is who we have some of the sense. We're asking the successor. You know you're going to have a sense of your own vision, your uniqueness, your creativity, but you are joining us. In a lot of churches and organizations, there is this leadership whiplash. And then it takes years, sometimes even decades, to kind of right this ship from having a lack of continuity in culture. And so I just think it's an act of selflessness, kingdom-mindedness, and I'm a strong advocate about it. And for all men that have done that, I want to be around them because it speaks of humility, kingdom-mindedness, And that's what I want to be when I'm in my late 50s. I want to remember it's not about you, Nate. It's about who the Christian can be that that is. So I pray that I follow Larry Riley's leadership, that he showed church and road training. But we're going to talk through just within church life, church culture, things we see as challenges or obstacles. I was going to jump to the other industry about sin. What's sin up to? What does that look like today for you? And how does that fit into the greater mission of the SDC? Yeah, so for those who don't know, SIN Network is the church planting strategy network of the North American Mission Board. We want to plant churches everywhere for everyone. And we have a SIN, S-E-N-D, SIN City, Indianapolis. And I'm a SIN Indiana director. So I've got a team of 6 of us. There's only 2 full-time, 4 part-time. You know, there's knock on the door of 8 million people in Indiana. We have about 420 churches. To give you a little context, Kentucky, obviously we share a border. And Kentucky has a little over 6 million people. They have about 2,500 churches. And so we've got 1 million plus more people, and we have more than 2,000 plus churches. So you can do the math. I went to University of Kentucky, so my math's not real good. Or it's Jonathon's, but we have a lot more people and a lot less churches. So Indiana is kind of like Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota. It's like a frontier state. There's not a lot of healthy churches and subsequently Southern Baptist churches. So SIN Network is, we come alongside churches, associations. We work with the state convention in partnership. Dr. Ryan Strawberry is our executive director. Shout out to him. He's a great, good friend, good collaborator. And we come alongside churches, try to help them. We say, what's your process of discovering individuals that perhaps could be a leader, be a church planter? How do you develop them, and how do you deploy them? We think churches need to be a center to deploy missionaries who tend to pray for the harvest. The harvest is plentiful. Jesus gives us a prophetic word. There are many people that are going to come to faith in Christ. We just need laborers, right? We need laborers. We need men, women with the hand of the plow. And so we were to do that. You guys know the stats. These are a little old, but for every 100 people in an established church, 15 years old, they reach about 3 people. Those stats are probably 5, 7 years old. The point is, we become an established church, 15, 16, 17 years old. We forget the mission, forget why we started. We exist to, by God's grace, follow the messages to seek and save the lost. Jesus didn't come for the healthy, he came for the sick. A church plant, 3 years and younger, reaches about 15 people per area. So do I think church plant is the only way to push back darkness into an outstanding? No, but it is the way, and I think God has sovereignly ordained is the planting of churches that are going to make much of Jesus to announce the kingdom of what the Lord in Christ is. And so we have 2025, we have 11 couples that are going to what we call our assessment, several in the spring, several in the fall. And I think assessment is one of the best things that we do with Southern Baptists with the North American Mission Board. It's awesome. You should be proud of it. If you are in a Southern Baptist church and you're given to the program that helps with the American Mission Board, it's an incredible tool and experience. And we've retooled that. And you go there and be assessed in terms of your preaching ability, your social skills, your calling, your understanding of the kingdom, your character. And so by the time you leave, we have a really good, not definitive, but we have a really good idea. We think, Jonathan and Gina, we want to assess, we think there's a green light for you to go plant a church. So we're not going to say you're not called. We think you're ready. So we're assessing readiness. And so we
talk about a bit. That's good. How does that interact with the local church? The local church should be the one seeing.
Yeah. So, and we say this, we really mean this. In fact, Vance Pittman and Travis Vogel retooled some of our verbiage, just the way that we were talking about it. It made it sound like SIN Network was planting churches. SIN Network does not plant churches. We plant churches, that plant churches, that plant churches, that plant churches. And so God's plan A in Ephesians is that the manifold wisdom of God might be known to the rulers of the doors and heavenless through the church, not through SIN Network, not through North American Mission Board, not through SBU, through the church. And so we work with the church. So we've got sending churches, got supporting churches, you've got cooperating churches, you've got multiplying churches, you've got moving churches. So if you think about the mobilization scale, you've got churches that cooperate. They give. It's great. We want you to give. I want churches to give. We've got churches that are supporting churches. I'm going to support Jonathon and Gina. I give a little bit of money. I pray for them. We mention them monthly. That's great. We want more supporting churches. Sending churches are churches that are going to kind of own, so to speak. We're going to send out Jonathon and Gina. We're going to give a substantive amount of finance for the operations, for the launch of the plan, for their salary, for their insurance. And it doesn't all have to fall on one church, but we're going to take more of the sweet gifted burden of owning and sending out Jonathon and Gina. And then you've got multiple churches that are seeing a DNA multiplication, that they're reproducing themselves every year, every 3 years. And we want more multiplied churches. And then we've got movement churches that are affecting regions. You guys know there's some churches in your region that are affecting states of Missouri because they're getting after it. So we want more churches like that that are going to own, try to move the needle of Waspis. And so we work alongside and under the local church. So I meet with pastors, and it's
Which to clarify, what I'm saying is the Sin Network doesn't tell somebody they can't leave church. Church is sin, but what the Sin Network does is say, if you're going to have our network,
yeah.
then we're going to give you a green. We're not definitive. If your church believes you should go to that church, that's your church. They can send you and bless you and may God use you. But Sin Network is saying, all that happens to Southern Baptist Convention. As we manage those resources and steward those resources, and we got to make some decisions about where those resources go. So our guys in some of our circles get upset. How can they tell me I can't get in the church? I don't know that they can't. They're not pastors. They're not your church or open church. Something needs to do. But they're stewarding the resources of the convention.
Well, and also at assessment, which happens, we have dozens of assessments. You have dozens of assessments all over the United States. When Jonathon and Gina, who are church planter candidates, come to assessment, they have to have a sending church. We want to be connected to the local church. We're not sending just people arbitrarily, but there's a process. Yeah, we're not recruiting. We're like coming alongside First Baptist all over Missouri. We're sending out Jonathon and Gina, and that pastor or somebody from the church be there. Say, hey, we know them. We see them. We've got relationships with them. So we want to be robustly committed, come alongside, collaborating, undergirding, supporting the local church. It's all about the church. So that's from the lips of Vance Pittman, Travis Ogle, Captain Zell. And I think that's becoming even more pronounced in the last several years.
Well, these are one of the things I was going to mention, challenges for the church.
I don't think there are any challenges in the local church. It's right up there. Right? So everything's right.
So a challenge I think that exists essentially in the big C church is leadership. Yeah, about church thing, identifying people that are going to go out and start a church, new church. It's some pieces to go through. I mean, my take, having been on pastoral searches at previous churches and serving leadership, and now part of the AC and some a lot of small churches and mentioned there are not there's not enough pastors to fill some pulpits as there are small churches what pastors get.
Yeah.
So we fill with bivocation. Maybe planting churches presenting or small churches that maybe aren't going to be able to find can't afford to have the person they want. Something they have to maybe die or merge. Into something like a church plant. So I think raising up leaders, finding leaders actually are going to allow building meeting churches. It's there's not enough qualified leaders to settle into the roles that you need. Right? That's setting the things work the outcomes. That's how you think leadership is.
Yeah, the man has some uplifting, really good administrative stuff for you type stuff. There's something there.
Oh yeah, he's constantly content, social media presence. It's a budget, it's a commitment of our budget in terms of coming alongside smaller churches for the work of replant, which has got to the point where you really can't revitalize it in terms of the amount of people. Just your replants is almost like a church plant, and then revitalization. So there's significant monetary and personal measures going with that.
And that's one of the challenges I think is little churches, smaller churches, can they afford to pay somebody that can give themselves to the administration ministry. Vocational, this is not sure vocational hard.
Well, even in that job, I was thinking about the terms bivocational. When you a true understanding of bivocational is a person who is working two jobs with the expectation and desire to go full time. Co-vocational are people who are intentionally having two jobs, sometimes three, and they do not want to go full time in church. They don't want to quote unquote not burn. They're like, hey, I want to be in the marketplace, so to speak. So we often use terms interchangeably. They're actually different. And I think we're going to need to have, there's becoming a resurgence of people who embrace the co-vocational. Because, I mean, if you go to, international mission work, you go to Shanghai in China, and to support somebody full time, you're talking about, $120,000. But if somebody go there as an accountant or engineer, business mission, have a platform. So I think we need to adopt that more of a missionary mindset in these contexts.
That's not even well, Merritt up in Minneapolis. That was part of some restrictions, so never do that. The business's mission for years was what they would do. There was a we went to up in the mountains that all gravy in their village places they started pretty shop. Yeah, that's where the area. That's how they're the best tasting ice cream ever. But they haven't had that. But that's how they're there. So yeah, so there are a lot of different challenges of what that looks like, but the idea of leadership and getting pastors in churches that are competent and trained, right?
Because we were kind of joking much a little bit about a model yesterday. Someone under a pastor getting one voice, helping them be prepared to potentially go to church units. Training needs to be a little bit broader than hearing one voice get up on it. I guess the reason they there's not people that have the ability. They're just not, have embraced their hand or haven't felt stepped up to take it on. Was doing but this, it's just identifying.
It's right. I like aggressive, but there's a lot of maybe this generation they don't. Do they want to go to Buffalo and serve? Or are they looking to go to a race? So what they really want to do is, so what are we doing in our seminary context? What are we doing in our Bible college context? That are finding, cultivating a spirit, a person who said, no, I'll go to the Buffalo, I'll go to the Fair Flag, I'll go to those contexts. But where you get social media, you get the live stream stuff, and the flashy stuff. That's what we're going to do. In the big cities. That's good. We need that.
We do need that. I think when you think about the parable of talents, and I don't want to be offensive to people, so there's my preference. That's what I'm about to be offensive. But I think there are 1 talent guys and girls, 5 talent guys and girls, and 10 talent guys. You look at her and say, man, that girl, she's extremely gifted. God's going to use her at some times. So you look at that guy, man, he's gifted, but comparatively, so I just think their context, it's not just larger scale, but I do think we don't need to spurn the 10 talent guys or gals. We don't need to spurn the 1 talent guy or gals, because there are talents all over the country that need a gospel presence and stewardship of talents. So we need to, I do think, Brandt, you said, almost needs to be like a qualification for 1 Timothy 1-7, times 1:5-9, verse 2-5, Hebrews 13. Like the church should have leaders that equip the saints for the work of the ministry, for the building of the body of Christ. If you can't, as a Christian, particularly as a Christian leader, in some form or fashion, walk somebody through what it means to be a follower of Jesus, walk somebody through discipleship, walk somebody through how to have a robust prayer life, walk somebody through how to articulate the gospel. If you can't do those things, you might be a preacher, but that's maybe all you need to be an equipper. And I don't think there's enough equipping, developing, and deploying in local church. I think part of the problem is indicative of pastors not having a real embracing commitment to the Great Commission.
What other challenges would you guys see?
I was reading one, this show, David Wells book, if you ever read it, it's Red Book, God and Voice, and it says the quote, it's in a little bit Sean Gray says the fundamental problem in the evangelical world today is that God rests too inconsequentially upon church. His truth is too distant, his grace too ordinary, his judgment is too benign, his gospel is too easy, His Christ was too. And for me, it's that's so good. Just get my own life. And even in some of the classes I've taught, some of the things I've said, even talking about and is the gospel just too free. Got me over the breath. It was just this is all the news. Right? What's the big deal? Are you still blown away?
Truman Wax, his Great Bishop, says in a very thin job. He says, familiarity is the enemy of wonder. You're not moved to all worse wonder because you've become too familiar. God help us.
Too familiar with the things of God, not blown away by grace, but then at the same time, we forget how holy. Isaiah 6, holy, holy, and holy. Sometimes, yes, which I'm twice holy is God. The angel of the Syrian cover their eyes. So is that the God that you think of? Or is it just the seraphim? So the displays truly is facing pastor, air quotes, talking about the Holy Spirit to her is like the genie who fun, funny. It's just thought how horrendous of things. This God of creation. So, and so that comes to me really the practicality. When you say, who defines what I exist to my purpose? Religion is me, for us. Who are you speaking to? Who is anybody you speaking to in faith? With the God who speaks in your faith and is spoken His word. So this sequential God who is sovereign over all things shouldn't just crush your sovereign self. So I think that's a real problem here in the church.
Now, you mentioned this earlier. I thought our church is walking through Genesis. We walked through Noah and then flood this past Sunday. That's the end. One of the things I mentioned at the beginning is, hey, I'm not apologizing for the word. We stand on the word. The word stands timeless, does not change like the shifting of sand. I want you to know, if this is your first time here, this is a heavy passage. This is not the cute drawings that need to be on the nursery wall. Like, why would we have that in the nursery? I mean, the absolute devastation where God is, in a sense, recreating His creation, and He's got to recapitulate it again. He's Noah and His family and two every kind of way. He's trying to let's do Genesis 1 over, And I said, if you chafe at the idea of destruction, I said, I do a little bit of my heart. I destroy everything, blot out every living thing. I don't think Hollywood's depiction of movies is always accurate, right? But the movie Noah with Russell Crowe was a bad man back in the day. There's certainly some painful stuff there, but when the water came up from the earth and the water came down and the door is shut and everybody is clambering up on rocks, it's like, let us in, let us in. And I thought, man, that's terrifying. I mean, it's like, even now, it moves my heart. If I chafe at that, it's because, John said, I think we have a low view of God's fullness, a low view of sin, a high view of ourselves, and that is always a recipe for not seeing or need desperation for Jesus. So I still think the church, we need to give a clarion call to the holiness of God, the majesty of God, the sinfulness of man, but also that God has delighted in us and provided a way through we can be forgiven. Praise God.
Yeah, I think that makes the gospel, right? If you don't have this robust understanding of holiness of God, wickedness of sin, sinfulness of sin, then you don't understand the depth of the gospel. So there's a reason if you read old catechisms, read old creeds, read how we're getting the Belgian Confession and Holy Spirit, confessions that you can go read. They don't start with the gospel. They start with this God and His holiness, devastation, sin, and it makes the gospel come along. So I think for the American church, we need not just the American church, but me, the churches. We need to see there's a holy God. There's a God who commands the fall of every spirit. There's a God who commands the roll of every dice. There is a God who turns the hearts of kings. There is a God there who's immature, who has ownership of you, whether you recognize it or not. You should bow to Him. His grace and for His glory and everlasting. So I think that if you consider us,
We could probably go for an hour if we wanted to.
yeah, just that meetings about this.
Yeah. Right. Well, but just good stuff. Thanks. Thank you for being here. Ministry for being here. Listening to being Jonathan's friend. It's tough. It's just not. Great. It's good to be here. It's good things going on at SVU. Great things. So we're trying to document it for sure. Well, thank you everyone for watching this one. We next episode we're going to bring in some of our friends from Stranger to the campus, teaching healthcare from Christian worldview. So we're excited for that, and we look forward to having you join us next time.